is Carmilla with another morning little congregation. Oh my goodness, I probably need this one more than anyone else right now because I'm really just feeling it this morning. You know, we go from the day of having like full of so much passion, and then the next day being like, ooh, okay, let's root that all in and let's recenter. So I know this morning when I woke up, they were talking to me about something, and it was around the lines of like, there's so much they're always constantly talking to me about. I just let it like run through in the background because like I'll walk through my daily life and then I'll see it. And I'm like, oh, that's what they were talking about. You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, cool. And then it's easier to just integrate it that way. Besides like sitting down with it and intellectualizing it, which is a part of the process, and then like trying to fully like understand it in that moment in time. Like there are just some things that it's easier to just experience and have that aha moment, and you're like, cool, great, I got it. So yes, and today is one of those days where I'm just feeling that. And they were talking to me about like lowering defenses or like being more open and receptive to yourself, both within and both without. So this is talking about like working with other people. Like right now they're just showing me like this very green is the color today for some reason, but this very green, it's very unique, I've never seen this before, like a Three of Pentacles tarot card. And it's about collaborating with others, working with others for your highest and best and greatest good, which is a really important part of pretty much all of our lives. All of us at some point in time will find ourselves or face the reality that we must work with others in order to achieve our next advancement or achieve our next understanding of things. Does that make sense? So it's just like, so example, yesterday I have a lot of energy that I'm working through constantly, and I'm one of those, I will dive head first into trauma and just go through it, work with it, close it up, and then come back the next day if need be. And I'm like listening to Summer Walker's new album, still over it, and I'm just having all these like thoughts and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I just got into that mode to where it was just like, fuck everybody. You know what I mean? It was just like I had so much love and appreciation for myself, but also so much rage and so much resentment toward myself and toward other people who seemingly, you know, struggle to see my value or struggle to care. You know what I mean? It's just that. And it's not to say that anybody is obligated to see my value, because what I was really, really understanding is that it's about me seeing my own value, and it's about me honoring that and then continuing to embody and integrate that and move into spaces that reflect that. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So I was just like never again, I'm over it, no, like it just, all these more like rageful energies were coming up, and I was really happy about that. But then today it's just like I don't have the desire to do it all by myself though, you know, because like yesterday night I'm just like, I could do it all myself, independent, I got spirit, I have guides, like I don't need anyone else. But at the same time I'm just like, but I like working with other people. I do enjoy deep connections and friendships, you know, and kindredship, you know, camaraderie. I do enjoy those things. So I was just like, how do they both exist at the same time? You know, how do I release the need to do it all myself? Or also, how do I release the need to have it all figured out so I can bring all these components to other people? And it's just honoring the fact that the only thing that I have mastery over is myself, and that's great. Because that takes all of the weight off of my shoulders to be responsible for other people, to be responsible for the world. But at the same time, that means that when I go into spaces, I have a duty or an obligation to show up with that same understanding of self, with that level of authenticity, whatever that looks like at the moment, because sometimes your most authentic reaction is fear or shock or a misunderstanding or miscommunication based on whatever filters your experience is going through, and that's okay. And I feel like that's what we need to understand too. Like, being yourself isn't always about like standing up for yourself and like hoo-ha. Sometimes it's just like taking a back seat and like really observing and analyzing how you react to things, what filters are your experiences being run through in order to get to you, as the observer, and and that becomes truth. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. But like, we just have a lot of defenses, and rightfully so. They're like literally saying like it makes total sense as to why you have these defenses based on the experiences that you had. It makes total sense. Hey, if these situations keep happening, then you're going to try to find a way to protect yourself. So they're saying that it's completely natural. They're like, it's normal, and there's not a single thing on this planet that hasn't experienced creating defenses in order to protect its livelihood or its survival. So to belittle yourself and doubt yourself and blah 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 because you have created defenses, they're saying it's like an unnecessary task, like it's an exercise of futility. You know what I mean? We all have those ways in which we stand up for ourselves and protect ourselves, but we also have those ways in which we allow other energy in, like even like what we would consider negative criticism. Like, negative criticism really helps us take a look at the fears that trigger our inadequacy syndrome. They're saying use the word syndrome. That's so funny. Or like, it's a dis-ease, or it's an experience that is disharmonious. When you do something and you share it with someone else, and then they have their own critique, if that critique, what's the word that they're trying to use here? They're saying like, if that critique opens you up in a way, then that means that there's something there worth healing. And that doesn't mean that you have to take that person's opinion and say, you know what, you're right, I'm trash, I'm horrible. You don't have to do, they're saying that that's the long way around. That's the extra mile. Because what you're doing is you're taking yourself out of it, and you're taking self-respect out of it, and then you're like trying to bully yourself into higher realization, which can work. It does have significance, but we're learning something new, so that's why we're in class today. Yeah, so they're saying like you don't have to take the long way around, you don't have to take that extra mile. And when they say having respect for yourself too, they're not saying having respect for yourself to be like you're right and I'm wrong, or you're wrong and I'm right. Like, it doesn't feel like that. It feels more like there's mercy. Like, mercy is the only way that I can really describe it. It's just like, yes, this person feels that way, and this is something inside of me that I acknowledge, that I am seeing aspected in the physical world or outside of me, and I understand that I am having this experience. That's what it feels more like. Like, I understand that I'm having this experience. So, like, for example, there are things that used to, like, really, really get to me in, like, a really, really huge way. And because of the fact that they kept coming up in the physical realm and I kept being open, and I was just like, typically I would go into resentment and be like, ugh, no, I don't want to look at this. I don't want to deal with this. That person is just wrong. But then I realized, wait, how is this hurting me? Because when this thing is said to me, it causes a pain. So what in me do I feel that I am lacking that is just really poking at? And sometimes it would just feel like someone is just taking their fingers and just curling them in my heart space. You know what I mean? Because sometimes stuff do be hurt, and it does hurt, you know? Like, people try to act like other people's words don't hurt them or they don't have any emotional impact. People just try to act like they're so emotionally just, and it's just like, dude, you know? Like, that's something that I don't really experience. I experience things very deeply. I experience things very fully. You know what I mean? Like, I fully absorb. I fully go through it so that I can get to the other side of it. So I'm really proud of that. And there are things that just don't bother me anymore that, man, 10 years ago, if you would have caught me, we probably would have had words, or we probably would have, you know, tussled or something like that. But it's just like, now it's just like, dang, bro. And I think that they bring us experiences like that too, so that we can, like, register our own progress and just be like, oh, cool. You know what I mean? Like, think about your favorite celebrity and think about, like, if they had to respond to, or if they felt emotionally moved by every drop of criticism that they receive, both positive and negative, it would be this, you know, it would be weird, and they would probably struggle with it to a certain extent if they're always constantly being moved by other people's opinions, or if they are, in a way, like, there are things in their heart space that really hurt them, and then you have these people who are constantly poking at that insecurity wherever it's unstable, then that's going to hurt. You know, eventually it's going to pop, or something's going to happen with it to where there's no choice but to look at it and deal with it or heal it, whatever. You know, like, it's going to manifest in a way. So they're pointing us to that same thing. They're saying you don't have to be, you know, a celebrity. You don't have to be anything in order to realize this. It's just understand that when you're working with others, it's an opportunity for healing, not only for you, but for them too. It's for everybody all around. So when someone is bringing those aspects up of their own self that they are seeing in you, or things in you that they are seeing that don't resonate with the way that they see the world, then you also have to understand that that is also them having that same aspect. Do you understand? Does that make sense? So say you work at a place and there is a specific dress code, and you can't dress a certain way because the person believes that, you know, professional, etc., 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 but you are more accustomed to dressing a certain way, and this person tells you that, and you're just like, oh, is it about my body? Is it about this, etc., etc.? Sure, it may be all of those things, but it's also important to know that, like, if that's something that comes up for you, it's worthy of being healed. It's worthy of being loved. Like, your body's worthy of being healed. Your body's worthy of being loved. But also at the same time, you have to understand that those same limitations, those same, oh, this is what is professional, that is a limitation that that person has placed for their own self, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that we have to do away with dress codes or whatever. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is, We all have our perceived limitations. We all have our defenses. We all have our boundaries. We all have those moments in which we meet a doorway and we say, oh, this one is locked. You know, this is something that we don't want to touch on. And that is part of the human experience. That is part of being of the societal world. And now what I'm speaking to when we're talking about healing and shifting consciousness and shifting frequency is getting to a point to where you are in spaces where you are allowed to be your full self, where they're saying like allow the divine to shine. This is why it feels like a lot of us are always in constant transition, where we're working on a project and we're not working on a project, and this is happening and then it's not happening, because what we're doing is finding our unique, our divine flow. So say you are someone, let's use because I love the body thing because it's something I'm working on for myself. Let's use that as an example again. So say you have this boss that has a dress code, but you're just like, I really want to experiment with this outfit. But then, you know, you see modeling, you know, and like people with OnlyFans who are dressing the way and being the way that you want to be, and they're making money or whatever. Like, it's completely fine. There is a consumer base, you know, there is a need for it. There's a demand. People want that type of energy because they can't get in all these different spaces. Does that make sense? So there is a space for they're saying your unique measure, for your unique flavor, for who you are. There is a space for it. It's all about us navigating the world freely. They're saying alternatively, navigating the world alternatively. So walking your own path and then allowing life to unfold for you from there. You know what I mean? There are some people who, like, man, they don't leave the house without a three-piece suit, and that's beautiful, and that's beautiful for the spaces that they occupy. You know what I mean? And that doesn't also take away the fact that there are things that are healing inside. You know what I mean? There are things that are meant to move us. There are insecurities, or they're saying instabilities within us that just need to be stirred so that they can be moved out. You know what I mean? There's things that just need to be touched on. And sometimes when we deal with it internally, we just we get on this hamster wheel almost, where we just like go through the same cycle over and over again. But then when you see it on the outside, it has more of a greater effect, because you see how your energy and your behavior and your placement is helping to move or orchestrate, they're saying, the world around you. And then when you see it orchestrating that world, or like really creating that world for you, you're just like, wait, no. No, we're not doing that. You know, you have that reaction to where it's like, okay, this is something that needs to be changed. This is something that needs to be shifted. So this is about going back to the Three of Pentacles. It's like collaborating by way of like understanding that both the positive and negative, or whatever experiences that you're having these so that you can reach your highest placement, so that you can reach harmony, so that you can reach the spaces that can provide for you and that you provide for. You know what I mean? Like, it's not about fitting into these boxes all the time. You know what I mean? And it's not about changing who you are all the time. Sometimes it is. Sometimes there are certain behaviors that are old, that are antiquated, and you're just like, all right, no, this has to go. Trash man comes on Tuesday, let's pack it up. You know what I mean? But there are some things where it's just like, in my heart and in my soul, I know that this is truly what I want to be. This is truly what I want to express. And hey, that energy might change, and it does. It does all the time. But you'll feel it evolving into your highest expression. You'll feel it as it shifts and changes, and you're just like, wow. Because you're going to shift and change with it. Your style, the way you talk, who you are, like that is going to shift and change, because what it's doing is moving into the proper lane, proper placement. So sometimes you got to get to point A so that you can get to point B and C, and they just sometimes look very different. You know, like you're not, more than likely, you're not the same person you were in middle school and high school. You don't have the same values. You don't have the same dreams and goals and different things like that. You know what I mean? So it's just like allowing that to happen as well. In life and collaborating with other people helps shape you. It really does. It honestly really, really does. Like experience, talking to other people, listening to what other people have to say about their own lives and their opinion of you, you know, like it does help to shape the way that you think, and shaping the way that you think into a sustainable place, or a place in which you can love yourself freely and love others freely and with compassion, but also don't attach yourself to other people's ideals as in it is the rule, it is the law, then that's when you really start getting free. That's when you really start letting go. And again, it's not about caring or not caring about other people's opinion. It's all about like, or opinions, it's all about like, is there opportunity for healing here, or is this something where it's just like, no, I'm not, no, we're not doing that. You know what I mean? And those are two very different energies. And I think that all of us here at this moment in time have the ability to tap into, oh, you know what I mean? Like this is something that I am working on and I am healing. And the fact that it is showing up in the physical realm means it's a confirmation for me. Or this is something that, you know what, a couple weeks ago I would have reacted. Today, you can hold that because that's yours. And that's an aspect within me, and you're coming and knocking on that door and you're asking for that part of me to come out and play and come out to be self-destructive and come out to be a certain type of way, and we're just not doing that. We're just not doing that. And that's you who has to protect that space within you. That's you who has to create that inner sanctuary and know, like, hey, this, you know, you have to know that difference. And again, that's another huge part of knowing energy, of knowing your own energy, of trusting yourself, respecting yourself, honoring the things that you don't like, honoring the things that you do like, and just being very, very, very real with yourself, you know, like just being very honest, like, you know what I mean, like, just being very honest with yourself all across the board, you know, about like things that you do want to change, things that you are completely fine with being a part of your life. So again, you're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with any of us. We're all just kind of like projecting things about ourselves onto other people so that we can see it on the outside world. Because when we see it on other people, we're like, I can fix that. You know what I mean? We just have that weird thing where we're like, I can fix it because it's someone else's problem and not mine. But, you know, like when we have our own problems, we're just like, what the hell do I do with this? You know what I mean? It's like that friend who like, oh my God, don't say that you're ugly. You're so pretty. Then they go home and they look in the mirror and they hate themselves. And, you know, it's like that same thing. So, listen. I'm just laughing because, like, the more I think about it, the more I'm just like, it's so dumb. We just play these weird little games with ourselves and with each other. And it's just like, really? Like, this all could be so simple if we were just like, yep, I resonate with that. Cool. I'm healing. Moving along. You know, and we don't get so trapped in the guilt of it all and the wishy-washy or the, but they said this, you know, when we don't get so trapped in that, it's just like, cool. You know what I mean? I'm a human. I got that. Cool. Like, it is what it is. Like, it just be like that. But I'm not gonna let that like stop me from being great. You know, I'm not gonna let that stop me from being who I am. I'm not gonna let that stop me from evolving, or, you know, compassion, or, you know, loving myself. Like, accountability and taking responsibility for my life doesn't mean that I have to live in guilt for the rest of it, or that I have to put other people's opinions before my own, or that I have to somehow alter myself in order to fit someone else's narrative. No. You know, we're coming together. These are stories coming together, not just, oh, well, I'm going to do this and this and that in order to fit into their box. It's like, no, we're not. It's not that. We're creating bigger ecosystems together, and sometimes they're just things that need to shift within our own selves in order for those to be sustainable. That's it. That's it. You know? And that's for pretty much everyone involved. It's not just you, it's not just them, it's just for everyone. And the more you can see it as a collaborative experience of we are all healing each other, and I'm not just healing this aspect of myself and just he running away. It's just we are helping each other to grow, to expand, and to heal. And that does take, you know, showing up as the best aspect of yourself that you can experience in that moment. And that's okay, whatever that looks like. Crying, screaming, laughing, judging, whatever that is in the moment. You know, whatever you can reach in that moment, that's what it is, and that's fine. That's loving, that's healing, that's compassionate, that's releasing so much pressure to be perfect, because again, the end goal is not perfection. It is definitely living life, being a human experience, being a human being. You're in a human body being. You're being. You're not doing, you're not forcing, you're not, you know, you're just being. And sometimes that looks like doing, and sometimes that looks like forcing, and sometimes that looks like literally doing nothing at all. You're just existing throughout life, you know what I mean? So it's just like, man, let it go, you know, and just have a great time, you know, just see everything as an opportunity for growth and for expansion and for honoring your process. You know, see everything as an ability, you know, like as a, this can only help me, you know, this can only bring me closer to who I truly am. And it gets a lot easier from there. It really, really does. It gets a lot easier from there. So I hope that made sense. I hope that made some type of sense today. You know, that's how I'm feeling. That's just the energy that I'm sitting with. And I'm happy about that, because that's something I struggle with a lot. Like trying to be a certain way for certain people, show up a certain way, or trying to fit into people's boxes because I feel like I have more value there, when it's just like I have value everywhere I go. My value doesn't change. So it's really beautiful. You're not a quarter that's just being put into a gumball machine, you know? So yes. Sit with that today. I'm going to be sitting with that today. And learning from it, and sitting with it, and learning from it, and noticing. Remember the noticing. So yeah, that's complete. I love you all so much. Thank you for sitting with me today, and I will see you probably tomorrow. Bye.